Hi everyone, hope you had good time in understanding the basics of Vlookup and the various combinations and parameters inside Vlookup formula. Well, that was not all because we have more combinations of Vlookup for you. Now before I begin with that combination, let me tell you about an example. Let's say if you were writing a formula which should be able to give you automatically Black's sales. Now, if you were writing VLOOKUP, first questions would arise that are you actually looking for? Now you are looking for that common link which is given vertically in the first column, which is nothing but black, not sales, but black. That's correct. Table array, you would have chosen the entire table and you would have remembered pressing F4. That too is fine. Now column index number, that's based on the question whether you want sales or cost. So column 2 is what you're referring to when you're talking about sales. And since this is not a slab, I will be using false. The problem with this is that tomorrow if you change the input from sales to cost, your answer would never change. What you have to do is get inside the formula, get the correct figure of column index number, which is 3, and then press enter. Now I want to automate this process, the one that you require, where you are recounting the column index number and re-updating in the formula. To be able to understand better, let me delete the current VLOOKUP formula. Let me take one step back and understand the implication of the formula match. I'll come to the practical application of match, but as of now, let's say if I give you this selection area, the one highlighted in yellow, and if I tell you what is the position of the word black, not the rank, not the row number, but the position relative to the values in the yellow cells, you would say 1 2 3 4 5 6. Exactly so. Let me write a formula which gives me 6 after counting the position of black. Let me press Ctrl Z to get rid of this yellow color. So equal to match. Just like VLOOKUP, it has similar sounding options. So lookup value black, it says value, one value. Now match is looking for one value where? In an array. Now if you remember, VLOOKUP used to give us table array, but match gives us lookup array. That means somewhat different. Now table array means a set of data, table is a table, so set of data in a table, but here it tells me array in just a lookup table, so it's not a table specifically. So you can take only a part of a column or a part of a row as selection. You cannot take both. This is not allowed in match formula. Consider match to be the junior formula, so cannot take much of the data in its head. It's only a part of the column. So I'm looking for lookup value black. Next is lookup array. Just like any array, any range, let me press F4, comma. Now if you remember, VLOOKUP used to give us the option of column index number, and match doesn't have that option. That's because match can only take one part of the column or a row, so there is no question of column index number 2 or 3 or 4, or row index number 2 or 3 or 4. So hence the next option is the one which is based on exact match or not so exact. So 0 for exact match, closing the brackets and enter. So black, if I put in red, 3, it's not case sensitive, so 3. Let me press Ctrl Z, back to 6. Before I see the application, let me quickly apply another match formula. This time the objective is to calculate the position of sales in this blinking border area. So equal to match, looking up for the word sales, that's correct, lookup array. So I can only choose a part of the array, part of a row or a column, but never both, will not accept that. So F4, comma 0, and closing the brackets. So it's containing 3 components, match containing 3 components, lookup value, the lookup array, and 0 for exact match. 2, let me change this to cost. automatically 3. Let's see where is it actually applied. Now before I get inside this diagram, let me go to sheet 2. Okay, let me help you focus on the first part of our case study. Let's have taken the same data, read sales, company wise sales and cost. Normally when we want to write VLOOKUP, we write in this fashion. Look for what? Sales or red? Think for a moment. Sales or red? Your mind may say even red is present, sales is present. But ask yourself, since you're using VLOOKUP, which of these two common links are given vertically? Red. So lookup value red. Now I'm asking this basic question because often when you're given a bigger data set, you may get confused. So hence ask yourself a question in this case, which is the common link given vertically and it's there in the first column, so that's nothing but red. Okay, table array, choosing the entire table array, and as usual let me press F4, comma. Next is column index number. For the moment let me write in digit 2, 1, 2. And lastly, since this is not a slab, I'm using false and pressing tab key. That's good, but tomorrow if I change the sales to cost, answer doesn't change. So I need to automate this process of column index number. Now this too, for cost I need the digit 3, and if I go a step back, you noticed one thing in the last example. The moment I change the sales or cost, answers change automatically. Exactly what I'll be doing out here, I'll be delegating this task, I'll be outsourcing this task of counting to match. Let me optimize the view a bit. So 2, let me delete that 2, and in that position let me type in match dummy formula. So you see this has taken the position of column index number. Now how can it help me count the position of sales? If I ask Excel's match formula to look for sales please, comma, lookup array, look for 1, 2 and 3 where you must count the way our mind counts, and let me press F4, comma, 0. So 3 parameters as we had discussed earlier. Match, look for a value sales where it cannot take the entire part of the data, only one part as we discussed earlier, junior formula, and last is 0 for exact match. So giving this 0 is essential, this means exact match. Giving this false is essential, that means VLOOKUP, it needs exact red. Enter. Looks 3400, same as before, but what's the difference? If I change this to cost, notice carefully, answer changes automatically. If I change this to orange, 4000, sales, answer changes. So whenever I have a 2 by 2 data, when I say 2 by 2 data, it means you have one variable on the vertical side, one variable on the horizontal side, and you're tempted to use VLOOKUP. I would say use VLOOKUP, but also use match along with that. I'll do more exercises, but before proceeding, I would want to take this example on my right. Whenever you're using VLOOKUP with match, remember just one thing. Junior follows senior. What does that mean? Junior is the blue one, the match one. Lookup array for match, that's represented by blue. Senior is the VLOOKUP part, represented by red. Senior, the VLOOKUP can take the entire database, but junior can just take a part, keeping into consideration where senior is starting. So junior should not be something like this, or should not be something like this. You'll see why. Let's say had you taken junior less, so I'm just making this small adjustment out here. It means if you're trying to find sales position in this miniaturized data set, you would have got 1, and if it had got 1 and given vlookup 1 column index number 1, vlookup had definitely look into column 1. So answer is incorrect. Let's say junior works more than the senior. And if I ask for sales, it would have given me 1, 2 and 3, third position. Now if I give 3, position number 3, column index number 3 to vlookup, it will look into which column? 1, 2, 3. So asking for sales, and the answer that you're getting is that of cost. So in both these scenarios, it doesn't work well. So you have to remember one thing: junior follows senior. Wherever you're using VLOOKUP with match, junior follows senior. We'll do more complex examples, and before I move into the next case study, let me just also quickly show you where is HLOOKUP with match used. If your data is like this, maybe sales and cost on the vertical side, horizontal exhibits the company name, and you would want to use HLOOKUP with match, what is a slight difference? Lookup for what? Sales or red? Since you are using HLOOKUP, you are looking horizontally, so hence you are looking for red, comma. Table erase the entire thing. This is nothing but the senior. Let me press F4. Next is row index number. Either you may choose to write 2, that is row index number 2 for sales, or you may use match. But in this case, match would be based on this part. So looking up for sales, because I want to find the position of sales, row index number 2 or 3. Lookup array, this time junior follows senior, will not be this. This is for VLOOKUP. For HLOOKUP, this way. F4, comma 0, bracket closed. So this is just for the row index number part. Lastly, since this is not a slab, as I remember from VLOOKUP, let me use false for exact match. Closing the brackets, enter. So just testing, cost 2800. So more often than not, you will be using VLOOKUP with match for any 2x2 matrix data. Rarely, if you do happen to use HLOOKUP with match, do remember the junior is focused on this part. We'll do more case studies in the subsequent sessions. Thank you for listening to this session.